This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. I want you to understand there's a difference. And I want the players out there. I want the professional athletes, the former professional athletes like the Des Bryants of the world, to take these notes. You can't say everything. Every truth isn't made to be told prematurely. Sometimes that's the way it goes.
And so here we go again. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And I did not expect to do another Stephen A. Smith video, but here we are again. I came across this clip in which he was addressing on the Stephen A. Smith show. He was addressing the double standard in which himself and Malika Andrews were being called out for not covering Josh Giddey the same way they did Von Miller.
Transitioning, hard transition, is to Buffalo Bills linebacker Von Miller. That brother right there. Super Bowl champion 2015 with the Denver Broncos. I had to address a subject involving Josh Giddey of the Oklahoma City Thunder of the National Basketball Association. So considering that and juxtaposing that to this story about Josh Giddey compared to Von Miller, I want to take a moment to explain to everyone the difference of why we, meaning people in the media, can discuss this matter and not the drama that is surrounding NBA player Josh Giddey. I showed him there, you saw his face, you see his face right now. He's been accused of messing around with an underage girl. But in his case, ladies and gentlemen, there's an investigation.
In this case, in Josh Giddey's case, there's an investigation. That makes sense. I don't know what I was thinking. Now, we were tripping. Man, Stephen A. Smith is a piece. And I don't say that just because he double talks. Everybody within the media double talks. They lie. They fabricate things. And so I'm not calling him out just for that. But I'm calling him out because of his arrogance and the audacity and the nerve that he has to go on his platform and treat us like we're dumb. Because that's who he's talking to. He's not talking to anybody else but people within the so-called black community. Whether that's so-called black people in media, whether that's so-called black people like myself on YouTube and other different platforms. And so that's who he's talking to. He's talking to the black community. And he's talking to us like we're stupid. He's talking to us like we don't know what we're seeing. He's talking to us like we haven't seen this.
Being drinking heavily.
Yeah.
When you're under the influence, not shining moments, often people don't make their best decisions. So in that sense, it's a cautionary tale.
Yep.
About being drinking heavily.
Yeah.
When you're under the influence, not shining moments, often people don't make their best decisions. So in that sense, it's a and I don't judge people by their worst moment. I agree with you on that punishment part. And the other piece that I just want to say, as a woman, it was also his wife's hands on him. So no one should be putting their hands on anyone.
Houston Rockets point guard Kevin Porter Jr. was arrested for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend, WNBA player Kaiser Gondrezick. Ladies and gentlemen, he should be in jail. He should not only be in jail, Tillman Fertitta, Ime Udoka, the new coach, the Fertitta family, it should be announced that he's no longer a member of the Houston Rockets effective immediately.
And so that's the issue with Stephen A. Smith. He's basically telling us that we're not seeing what we're seeing and we're not hearing what we're hearing when he speaks on situations like this. And he's a hypocrite on situations like this. When it came to Dana White, there was all the explaining and all the excuses in the world, even coming out of Molly Quirm's mouth. Talking about you should never put your hands on a woman. But in this case, you know, well, she did put her hands on him first, and you should keep your hands to yourself. That goes for everybody. But when it comes to the so-called black man, you should never, ever, ever put your hands on a woman, regardless of the situation. And that's an insane statement to make. I don't care who you are, woman, man, child, or beast. You put your hands on me with the intent to harm me, there's going to be consequences and repercussions. And I advise everybody to teach that to their sons and daughters. It's called self-defense, self-preservation. Even a dog will bite you back. But we all know what time it is. It's conditioning that's been going on and programming that's been going on. But Stephen A. Smith is all the way out of line on this one, coming up with his little soliloquy to try to explain away his hypocritical behavior when it comes to his performative behavior on ESPN and on his show. He can't even blame it on ESPN because even on his own show, like I showed you with that Kevin Porter clip, he's still doing the same thing. Because that Kevin Porter Jr. incident, and I made a video right after that incident, because my antennas go up whenever there's a situation like this. If there's a domestic dispute or some kind of alleged domestic assault, and they don't put up any pictures, there's no video, there's no evidence, my antennas go all the way up. And especially if they're in a place and they're in a position to show photos or to show some kind of video to support these claims. Because that's the first thing that any district attorney will do. It's called legal tampering, because it's going to put them one step ahead of whatever legal team, whatever legal defense that they have to go up against. And so oftentimes the district attorney's office is going to go ahead and release whatever evidence that they have, especially if it's photos or any kind of video footage that they can obtain. They're going to go ahead and release it. And in order to go ahead and, like I said, legally tamper with whatever jury pool that they're going to have. And so when I saw that Kevin Porter Jr. incident and they didn't have any pictures to support their claims or to support any of the allegations, I told everybody, let's wait and see. I didn't jump on the train either way. And then, of course, a few weeks later, Kevin Porter Jr.'s girlfriend has to go on Roland Martin to get an interview. Because no mainstream media, not Gayle King, not CNN, not ESPN, nobody wants to interview her because what she has to say doesn't go along with their programming.
We were in New York, attending New York Fashion Week. Just earlier that night, we had just finished attending a fashion show. I had some meetings early the next morning to attend to, so I decided to call it an early night. He stayed out with his friends, his teammates, and obviously came back at a later time. Me being asleep, I was unaware of the fact that he was locked out of the room. Security, to my understanding, helped let him in. And I was awakened to, just yelling and him being very adamant about wanting to have a conversation with me that even still to this day, I don't even know what that was, about. I was, very hazy, being awakened from sleeping, and I could smell, a hue of alcohol. Clearly it wasn't the right space nor the right time frame to even have a conversation. And as, he grabbed me by my shoulders to try to wake me up to have that, I stand up, very quickly on the bed, and I fall off the side of the bed and hit the side of my eye on the wall. And that's where the laceration above my eye came from. There was a makeup splat and a little blood splat on the wall to justify and support that injury. I don't know if you've ever tried to stand up on a bed. There's actually no support. There is so much imbalance that I fell. And in hindsight of that, I noticed blood. And to be completely honest, I was in shock. I kind of I kind of panicked and I ran out the room. And when I ran out the room, the security officer that had let him in was still standing at the elevator. So it just goes to show you how fast and such a blur the whole incident, happened, that the guy that let him in was still standing outside waiting to go down. And to my understanding, that's when they escorted me down and I heard that he was arrested. No, he never balled his fist up and hit me in the face numerous times, nor did he ever strangle me to the point where there was lacerations around my neck or where he fractured my spine and my neck. Those allegations are not true.
Okay.
And so if Stephen A. Smith was a real one, which he's not, but if he was, he would at least have the heart to invite Kevin Porter Jr.'s girlfriend on and let her explain exactly what happened, like Roland Martin did. Because that's the least that a Stephen A. Smith could do after calling for this man to lose his job, after calling for this man to go to jail and do hard time over allegations, an investigation.
But in his case, ladies and gentlemen, there's an investigation.
It's not like we had any hardcore proof like we do with Josh Giddey. There's no photos. There's no video. It was all allegations. And it turns out it wasn't even true. Kevin Porter Jr.'s girlfriend never even made a statement to the police. The district attorney apologized to Kevin Porter Jr.'s girlfriend for what they put. They made up their own allegations. They made up their own story based on what they saw and based on who they saw. They saw a young black male standing there, a young girl hurt, put two and two together, bam, somebody's going to jail. But we don't see that in the case of Josh Giddey. We got an underage female with an NBA basketball player in a photo together, and the caption reads, "I just banged this dude," and nobody's going to jail? No district attorneys are involved? As far as I know, they may be now, because like I said in the video yesterday, Miss Gloria Allred is involved. And so at the very least, somebody's about to pay up. A whole lot of people are about to pay up, including the NBA, if I had to put money on it. Miss Allred is not to be played with. Ask Bill Cosby, ask R. Kelly, ask Michael Jackson, ask O.J. Simpson. A long list. And like I said yesterday, up until recently, it was almost exclusively so-called black male celebrities. But since the Me Too movement, she's broadened her horizons and she's got the okay and the green light to go after anybody and everybody. And plus she's getting up there in age, so she's trying to get all the bags that she can get. And so it's on. But you won't hear Stephen A. Smith discussing this. All you're going to get out of Stephen A. Smith is how the so-called black community is stupid and they need to stay in their lane. Because he's the journalist, even though he's not a journalist. He hasn't been a journalist for 20 plus years now. He's a TV personality and a radio host. That's it. There's nothing special about him other than the fact that he puts words well together and he's entertaining and interesting to listen to for some. And that's it. Individuals like Stephen A. Smith, they think their status and their money make them. And he's not the only one. There's a lot of individuals that feel and believe and live this way. And to me, it's a sad way to live. It's a sad way to live. If other people can validate you, then that means they can invalidate you. And that's the problem with that. And that's why Stephen A. Smith said he was severely depressed when he was let go by ESPN a decade ago. He didn't know what to do with himself because his identity is wrapped up in what other people think about him. And so Stephen A. Smith and the Malika Andrews are always going to be about the numbers and who's watching. And since the so-called black community doesn't make up the majority of the people here in the United States, you already know who they're going to cater to. That's what it comes down to. It's a numbers game for them. And in the process, if they have to buck dance a little bit to get those numbers, then that's what they're going to do. And so I think that's going to be a wrap on this particular video, but definitely keep the conversation going and chime in below and let me know what y'all feel about this one. And as usual, peace and chaos.